Good day. I'm Avalore. On today's episode, we'll be looking at nature and scope of economics as a topic. So, regarding that, we'll be looking at how the subjects of economics evolve, as well as various definitions that were given by different schools of thought. So, for your better understanding, I've been able to classify and categorize these definitions into three, and we have the classicalists, we have the new classicalists, and scarcity definition. So those are the three schools of thought of which I've been able to classify the definitions of economics. So before now, economics as a subject is known as political economics. And when we say economics, it is considered to be a dynamic course, and that means it cuts across almost every human endeavor. And that simply explains that as an economist, your service is needed in almost every sphere, almost every sector of the economy. Now, the idea of economics as a subject was first introduced by Adam Smith in 1776 when he published one of his books titled Wealth of a Nation. So let me put out on the board Wealth of a Nation, Wealth of a Nation. In this Wealth of a Nation, Adam Smith explained a lot of concepts talking about the demand and supply, free market economy, the concept of division of labor, the canons of tax, that's the properties of tax, the invisible hand, and all other concepts which become the subject of discussion in economics of nowadays. So prior to this publication of this book, there were no specific definition for economics as a subject. So after the publication of this book by Adam Smith in 1776, then the problem that arose after that was how well to define economics. So we are going to be looking at the definitions that were given by the classicalists, the new classicalists, as well as the scarcity definition. So let's begin with the classicalist definition. Like I did say, the father of economics is often regarded as Adam Smith because of the theories, a lot of theories he postulated, which I've mentioned earlier on. So Adam Smith in 1776 defines economics as an inquiry into nature and causes of wealth of a nation. A Francis A. Walker is also part of the classicalists because the classicalists are kind of group of scholars that have the same ideology of what economics as a subject means to them. So the A. Francis Walker or Francis A. Walker is also part of the classicalists, and it defines economics as a body of knowledge that relates to wealth. Then we have John Stuart Mill. John Stuart Mill is also one of the classicalist group. Then it defines economics as the study of how people produce, consume, and distribute wealth. Now, very interesting. If you go and look at these definitions by the classicalists very well, you see that there is something very common among all these definitions, which is wealth. Wealth was stated here, here, and here. So the classicalist definitions were centered on wealth. And what do they really mean by economics as a subject has something to do with wealth? Now, that's wealth. I want to explain it in details now. So the classicalists said a country or an economy should focus on production rather than the money in circulation. And what they mean by that is that the wealth of a nation can be determined by the amount of goods and services which a country produces. So the level of productivity of an economy will determine how wealthy an economy is. So that's basically what they mean, and not the money in circulation, because There may be money in circulation and the money may not translate to wealth. So basically, they say the wealth of an economy should be based on the level of productivity of that particular economy. So let me take, for instance, this concept of wealth, which was established in these definitions given by uh, the classicalists, that China, as one of the higher developing economies in the world, spe- uh, uh, premise bases wealth creation on the production of goods and services. And you will agree with me that the rate at which China produces is far higher than almost every other countries of the world aside the United States of America, because it was even you know forecast, that means a prediction now, that those that's by economists, that in the next 3 decades that China may tend to overcome US in terms of the number one world traders, you know, with all countries of the world. That's in the next 3 decades, that's in 30 years' time. So China is basing the wealth of its economy on the production of goods and services, whereby local content, local production is encouraged by the governments of the day. And with that, the governments will become more wealthy and wealthy and wealthy. And the same could be repeated by Nigeria as a country, whereby the governments of the day should also shy away from being a consumption economy. That's Nigeria. Nigeria is known to be a consumption economy and not a production economy. So Nigeria, to be classified as a wealthy nation, must imbibe the habit of production rather than consumption. Consumption is basically you import almost everything you buy. But production, it's about you produce locally whatever that is needed to be consumed by the citizen or the people. So that's basically what the classicalists believe that the wealth of a nation should be based on: the production of goods and services, the level of productivity. The level of productivity determines how wealthy an economy is. Then, still on that same wealth, the classicalists, they believe that for that wealth to be created, for there to be increase in the level of productivity, then also they recommended that the practice of division of labor should be adopted. And that means for you to increase the level of productivity in your economy, and by that your wealth will increase, practice division of labor as a concept. And you all know division of labor means the breaking down of production processes, whereby each stage is taken up by different individuals. And going by Adam Smith, don't forget Adam Smith also postulated the theory of division of labor, and that was in pin production. Pin production. So it was realized, it was discovered that when division of labor was practiced in pin production, productivity level increased by leaps and bounds. In terms of it doubles, productivity level doubles. And that means that each stage should be manned, each stage of production should be manned by different individuals. And don't forget, division of labor results into specialization. That means you being permanent on a particular stage or division of production. So if you want to increase the level of productivity of any economy, that's the wealth, then practice division of labor. Then, now, also still on that wealth, now that individuals are meant to specialize, are meant to do or take up a particular stage of production, firms are meant to produce a particular good, country are meant to specialize or produce a particular good in which they have comparative cost advantage, then it was also suggested by Adam Smith that the basis of exchange should be invisible hand. Invisible hand was also postulated by Adam Smith. Now you can see the reason why he is known to be the father of economics. He postulated lots of theories. So that invisible hand is about the basis of exchange, perhaps between countries, individuals in an economy, should be based on the forces of demand and supply, the interplay of demand and supply, and not uh, uh, fixing the prices of goods and services. That's with respect to a repressive economy. And repressive economy, the potentials of individuals is not often realized. But in a market-based economy, like it was suggested by Adam Smith, capitalist economy, free market economy, the, and that's why, okay, let me just try and finish up that. In a free market economy, the prices of goods and services are determined by the forces of demand. So, division of labor: A specializes in production of wheat, B specializes in the production of maize, C specializes in the production of, let's say, coconuts and all that. Then all these individuals or countries who have specialized in different stage or different produce, then the basis of exchange among them should be the concept of invisible hand. That means the forces of demand and supply should be used as the basis of determination of the prices of goods and services, and not fixing the prices. Let the forces of demand and supply determine the price. So that's with respect to the wealth, as it's the major center of the definitions that were given by the classicalists. First, they said the wealth of a nation should be based on the production of goods and services and not the amount of money in circulation. Then two, for you to increase the wealth of an economy, then the concept of division of labor should be encouraged to have increase in the level of productivity, as well as there will be efficiency. That's with respect to division of labor. Then, since each individual, each country, each business has specialized in the production of what it can produce the least at least cost, then the basis of exchange should be the forces of demand and supply, which is the same as invisible. And that means the country should be or should practice free market economy. That's market-based economy. And you will also agree with me that, like I wanted to emphasize earlier on, that any country that you see being a developed country nowadays, such countries or those countries are often the freest economies in the world. They are capitalist economy, because capitalists, although it has its own disadvantages, but there are advantages of allowing an economy to be the freest supersede, exceed its disadvantages. And it allows individuals to attain their full potential. That's capitalist, the forces of demand and supply. And that is the direction that the current president in Nigeria is moving towards. It should be a free market economy. The basis of determining, the prices of goods and services should be the forces of demand and supply. So that's basically the classicalists. Their definition was centered on wealth. Now, these definitions given by the classicalists were condemned and criticized by a particular scholar in economics, and his name is James Bowden. James James Bowden. James Bowden criticized these definitions, that it was too narrow. They were too narrow to wealth, that these definitions were too narrow to wealth. So as a result, these definitions were condemned. That means it did say that the definitions were not good enough, that they did not, or they were not able to identify the subject matter of economics, which is being talked about today, and that's the concept of scarcity of resources. So, as a result of the fact that these definitions were condemned, then we have another school of thought. And that school of thought, they named themselves neoclassicalists. So, neoclassicalists, this is a Latin word, it means new. Then these neoclassicalists, among all the scholars they named themselves the neoclassicalists, one of them was able to come up with a definition, whose name is Alfred Marshall, and it defines economies as as the study of mankind in the ordinary business of life. This man here, James Bowden, also said that this definition is too broad. That's which aspect of mankind does Alfred Marshall means by saying economic studies is the study of mankind? He said it's too broad. Which aspect of mankind? Is it the blood aspect? Is it the bone aspects? Is it the which aspects? You are not being specific. So based on that, James Bowden said the definitions given by Alfred Marshall is too broad. That's on one ground. Then the second ground on which this definition was criticized or condemned is that this word business here, excuse me, this word business here, as it was used by Alfred Marshall, James Bowden said he borrowed the idea of the classicalists that this word business here means wealth. So he said he borrowed the idea of the classicalists. So on that two grounds, he said this definition was criticized. Among other scholars that criticized this definition by Alfred Marshall. So on two grounds. First, the definition was too broad. And second, this word business as used by Alfred Marshall in its definition means he borrowed it from the classicalists. So as a result, these definitions by the classicalists as well as the new classicalists were criticized and condemned. Not that they are not good, it's just that they are not good enough. And meaning that they did not identify the core subjects of what economics as a subject talks about. Then we have another man. His name is Jacob Wiener. Jacob Wiener. Jacob Wiener is also an economist. Then Jacob Wiener defines economics as what economists do. As what economists do. And this man, James Bowden, said he agrees with Jacob Wiener if he defines economics as what economists do. And the big question you want to ask is, what do economists, what do they do? So being an economist, you are meant to identify the basic problems of every society. That's the problems of what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce, how efficient are the resources utilized, is the economy growing or stagnant. Now, it's not enough for every economist in an economy to identify the basic problems. It is also their duty, responsibility, jobs to provide solutions to those problems which have been identified. So, for example, Nigeria. Why is it that the growth of Nigeria, the development in Nigeria is being stagnated? Is Nigeria as an economy, is not growing at the level at which other countries of the world, expect us to to move or to grow. Then economists in Nigeria, they will go to the president and like, okay, you need to put in place adequate infrastructure, and that will attract investors and all that. And with that, we have growth and development. So they will first and foremost identify the basic problems. Then after which they will provide solutions. Okay, how about you build more modern healthcare system? How about you build more modern roads? How about you fix the power sector? How about you make sure that the manufacturing sector is up and running? How about you fix the tourism sector and all that? Then economists will prefer solutions. So it's not only enough for them to identify the major problems of every economy, but to also prefer solutions by giving the presidency economics tips and advice. So that's basically, then this man, James Bowden, said he agrees with Jacob Wiener if it defines economics as what economists do. But he was unable to come up with a definition of what economics is about. So you can see James Bowden is an armchair, critic, finding fault in what others do. Because it was the one, condemning all this and criticizing all these definitions that were given by, the classicalists, the new classicalists and all that. So having talked about these two definitions, then we had in 1932, we have a scholar. His name is Robbins. His full name is Professor Lord Mathers C. Robbins. But he's my friend. I call him Robbins. So Robbins is a scholar of economics. Then most times this definition given by Robbins is mostly ascribed to the scarcity definition because it is the definition that has been able to stand to the test of time despite its full criticism by lots of scholars in economics. So most times if you are asked in international exams to define economics or what is economics, you can always give this. Then why is it that this definition seems to be the most generally accepted definitions of economics? Because the concept centered on the idea of what economics is about as a course or subject, and that's the concept of scarcity of resources. And don't forget, the fundamental problem of economics is scarcity. And because resources are scarce, then that gives rise to all other problems in economics. The problem of basic economic, questions, or the basic economic problems of every society, the problem of choice, the problem of scale of preference, and all that. So those problems arise because of the fact that there is scarcity of means. Now, let's talk about some of the highlights, some of the components of this definition that made it the most generally accepted definition. Quote me on that. I said the most generally, not generally accepted definition, because this definition, as you see here, was criticized as well by lots of scholars. But that's a tale for another lesson, all right? We are going to look at those reasons why this definition, or which this definition was criticized. Now, let's explain some of the highlights of this definition. That's the most important part of which why this definition was accepted. So, social science. Robbins means economy is a social science, or economics as a social science means to Robbins that it studies human behavior in relation to satisfaction maximization. Now, let me break that down a little bit. Excuse me. Let me rub up this part, and I'll be able to explain in detail the highlights of that definition, which was given by Robbins in 1932. So it did say economy is a social science because it studies human behavior in relation to satisfaction maximization. What that simply means is that human beings, we are rational consumers naturally, meaning that we will always get satisfaction from whatever things we buy or put our scarce means to buy, basically. So even if a consumer has, let's say, scarce means, which is basically money, scarce means is what you have to get what you want. And basically, you could say that is money because in uh, this century we have is a monetized century, meaning that almost everything you can buy with money. So money is the major, scarce things that everyone could have, aside time being, more valuable than money. Time is more valuable than money. You could ask me that, perhaps in the comment section. So it said economy is a social science which studies human behavior in relation to satisfaction maximization. And that explains that if as a consumer you have a scarce means of 100 naira, this 100 naira you will want to put it to buy an item or things that you so much like that will give you maximum satisfaction. And for example, before you part away with these means or resources which you have, you will first and foremost behave as a consumer. How do you behave? Oh, let me buy this. Oh, let me buy this. No, let me buy this. Let me buy this. Then eventually, after you have behaved, then you will eventually put the means or the resources to buy things or that particular item that you know that it will give you the maximum satisfaction. So before any consumer or any person, any individual, any firm, any government makes a particular decision, they must know that this decision is the best for me and it will give me the maximum satisfaction. So every decision maker usually have some sense of reasoning. They always make a decision that will always, make them to be better off and not worse off. So you want to ask me, why is Israel, you know, destroying Palestine, Gaza and all that? Do you understand? Why are they bombing? There is a reason for that. Before they took that decision of, bombing, there is a decision, and that decision may tend to give them, satisfaction in the long run. I don't know. So that's what Robbins meant by economy is a social science. Whatever an individual firm's government puts its means to must give that particular economic entity maximum satisfaction. Then he also talks about ends. Ends as used in this definition means want, means ineffective demand, ineffective demand. And it also means unlimited human desire, unlimited human desires. So these are another words for ends. Now, in economics, we usually say ends are unlimited. There are so many. Those are things you so much desire to have, but you do not have the means, the resources to have them. So means or ends are not financially backed up. You do not have the money to buy them, basically. So your means are endless. They are many. They are numerous. They are endless. They are insatiable. They are insatiable. Insatiable in the sense that you cannot buy all your hands. And the reason you cannot buy all your hands is that the means at your disposal, the resources at your disposal, is always considered to be limited. It's always very small. No matter how abundant that money you have is, it's not enough. No matter the time that you have is not enough. But what you are going to put those limited things to buy, those things are unlimited. So resources are limited, they are scarce, they are not enough. Let's say, for example, the time I did say is the most valuable resources every human being could have. So you must make sure you use your time wisely. That 24 hours you have in a day, to some people, it's not enough. In fact, some are begging God to kind of make it 48 hours in a day. And after that is made, done by God, that's making 24 hours, 48 hours. Some, after some, time, they will still claim that, oh, please, God, make it 100 hours. Because it's not always enough. So your ends are unlimited, your wants are unlimited, but the means to satisfy them, to buy them, they are limited. So insatiability of human wants, or the fact that human wants is insatiable, means that wants are unlimited and the means are limited. And this limited means cannot buy the whole of these wants. That's what Robbins meant by, although hence is just, I'm just trying to break down the fact that, or the reason that you cannot buy all your ends as it was postulated by Robbins. So your ends are always unlimited. Now, I've given you one of the cogent reasons why ends are or wants are insatiable, because means are scarce, wants are unlimited. Then the solution lies in, since your means are scarce, it cannot buy all the things that you need to buy. Then the solution lies in economizing your scarce resources. Economizing means you just have to manage. Then you have to allocate that limited. You have to give that limited resources to the most important wants or needs. So this is your means, very small, and you have lots of ones to buy. So you tend to allocate this, give it small out of this means to this, give small to this, give small to this, give small to this, give small to this. And that tells you that if a government of an economy is preparing its budget, then the money for the year that the government has estimated to spend, they will allocate it to the most important items that will benefit the average citizen of every of their country. So that's budget. So they allocate. So economy is about managing the limited scarce means. Are we together? So that's basically what hence. Hence is wants, ineffective demand, unlimited human desires, uh, and all that. So that's that. So hence means wants, ineffective demand, and all that. Then the last but not least, that's one of the highlights of this definition that was given by Robbins in 1932, is that scarce means which have alternative uses. So Robbins said that your means are capable of being put to different uses. So whatever your means could be, let's say your means could be money, could be gold that you have, could be water, could be land, could be anything that you have. So means are basically what you have to get what you want. So let's say your means is water. This water you have here is your means. It can be put to alternative or different uses. For example, you can put water to laundry, that's doing your dishes, doing your, washing your clothes and all that. You can put water to drinking. You can put water to bathing. You can put water to cooking. You can put water to all sort of things. And that means water, which is your scarce means, is capable of being put to alternative or different uses. Let's say your scarce means is money. Is money. This money you have, let's say you have $1,000. This $1,000, sorry, I'm a businessman, so I don't trade in naira. I trade in dollar, right? Hard currency basically. So this $1,000 you have is capable of being put to different uses. So let's say, for example, you have $1,000 and this $1,000 can buy varieties of goods. All right. So you can put this $1,000 to buying, let's say, airplane. Assumption. It can buy any other goods, every other goods of varieties. So it can buy plane, it can buy jets. If you do not buy jets, you can buy plane. If you do not buy plane, you can buy land. If you do not buy land, you can buy gold. If you do not buy gold, you can buy a house. If you do not buy a house, you can buy a nice shoe. If you do not buy a nice shoe, you can buy a nice car. So you are putting it to different uses. So if you do not put your resources to this, you can put it to that. That's what Robbins meant by anything called means is often considered to be scarce. And scarce means have alternative uses. You can put them to different uses. That's what it means. So that's to tell you that resources being able to put to different scarce means explains the fact that that satisfaction, which is considered to be utility. Utility means the satisfaction, the feeling of happiness every consumer gets for consuming a particular product is subjective. So utility is subjective. Subjectivity of utility means that what gives consumer A satisfaction may not give consumer B satisfaction. And what that means is that if we both have, let's say, $50, and I decided to, use my $50 to buy, let's say, ice cream, and someone else decided to use his 50 naira to buy, let's say, marijuana, naira mali. I did not say that. So if he decided to use his $50 to buy, let's say, marijuana, then you will now be like, oh, does this marijuana gives him satisfaction? Yes, it does. Just like, marijuana will not give me satisfaction it can give other people satisfaction. So we will all put our means to different uses. So scarce means have what? Alternative uses. And that's what we mean by utility is subjective. And you may be wondering, how come people smoke under a scorching, sun? Because they get some satisfaction smoking it, it gives them some sort of energy. So what gives Mr. A satisfaction may not give Mr. B what? Satisfaction. That's the fact that what utility is subjective. You may, be amazed by a lot of, economic actions worldwide, because all these actions you have will culminate into the total economic activities or decisions that have been made by different individuals, firms, governments, and all this. So that's basically the definition that was given by Robbins in 1932. So it's considered the most generally accepted definition of economics. So most times when you're asked in international exam, you can decide to perhaps the question is asked, what is economics? You can start from the classicalists, perhaps give one of the two definitions, then you continue with this, then you can round it off with this, which is the most generally accepted definition. Then you can try to explain some of the highlights of this definition, which makes it the most generally accepted definition. So this is where we are going to be drawing the curtain for today. Continue to support us in any way you can. And for you to have stuck with me this fight means you so much like this video. Please push the like button for this video as well as for some of our videos which you guys are, I think you are enjoying. Ring the notification bell, and that means each time we put out a video you will get notified instantly. And we can't just be thankful enough at Echo Plus our boy, to those people that have been helping us to share our videos to friends and relatives who find this, some of our videos interesting and educative as well as insightful. So please continue to share our videos to friends and relatives. And from me to all of you, it's bye for now. I'll see you on my next video. Bye bye.